All right, welcome to the Big Texas Podcast presented by Texas Young Republicans. I am your host, Jordan Overturf, coming to you from an undisclosed location in North Texas. I've been up here all day talking to candidates about their background, their experience, what it is that got them into the races they're running, and more importantly, what it's going to take for Republicans to win in 2020. Now, before I get to my guest, let's talk about what's going to happen with Republicans in 2020. Actually, tomorrow, Tuesday, January 28th, is Election Day. That's right. You're not hearing this wrong. January 28th is Election Day for two special election runoffs in Fort Bend County and Houston proper. This is HD 28 and HD 148. You've heard me talk about it before, but I'm going to give you one last pitch, one last reminder that you need to get out and go to the polls tomorrow if you live in House District 28, where Gary Gates is running to hold on to that Republican seat. He's got Democrats from across the nation that are coming in trying to buy that seat, use their influence as presidential candidates, failed or continuing, to try and steal that seat away from Republicans. So if you live in House District 28, you need to make sure you get out and vote for Gary Gates tomorrow, Tuesday, January 28th. If you live in House District 148, you're going to be voting for Louis LaRota, friend of the podcast, veteran, all-around good guy. If you want to learn more about Louis, you can go back to episode 1 and listen to him. I certainly recommend you do it, but why not do it after you've already voted for this great young Republican, this Houston young Republican who is fighting to become the first representative. That's right, the first Republican representative for House District 148. So if I haven't said it enough before, here's my last go at it. HD 28, HD 148. Here's your chance. Election Day is Tuesday, January 28th. Get out and vote. Okay, my guest today is Genevieve Collins. She is running to be the Republican nominee in CD 32. This is a seat that was previously held by Congressman Pete Sessions. In 2018, he lost to Collin Alred, and that district became Democrat for the first time in about 30 years, I think is what Genevieve said. You might have heard of Genevieve before. She has gained a little bit of media attention as one of several women who are running for Congress this cycle. I had a great time talking to her. She's got great energy, great background in education, a strong pro-Texas message. If you haven't seen her ad, definitely check that out, talking about keeping it 100% Texan. And I ask her about that. I also get to talk to her a little bit about the issues of immigration, the economy, and the national deficit, one that I personally think more candidates should be talking about, especially at the federal level. But, as always, I'm talking too much, and I'm just going to go ahead and get out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Ms. Genevieve Collins.
So about 5.5 months, and it feels like the first 5 months, that feels like a blur at this point.
Yeah.
Now it's just full on sprint mode from January 1st to March 3rd. And you have 60 days to really accelerate at breakneck speed. You feel like, okay, we're moving, we're accelerating, we're pushing for the first 5 months. Now it's like, whoa. Yeah. Rocket ships are out of here.
Yeah. Who put their foot on the gas pedal?
Right. Yeah.
So for people who don't know much about you, Genevieve, can you give us a quick rundown on your background experience?
Sure. So I am a 7th generation Texan. My family got here in 1851. So we found paradise early, never left. And I'm actually a 4th generation Dallasite. So born and raised in Dallas. Grew up, graduated from Highland Park High School, but I founded the rowing team at my high school, which ended up earning me a scholarship. I didn't get, all this new stuff about rowing. I was like, no, I actually had to earn this, So founded the rowing team, which is now actually a citywide rowing program. So we have kids from Flower Mound and Louisville and Rockwall all coming to White Rock Lake in Dallas to learn how to row. And it's actually ended up creating hundreds of scholarships for students, which has been really cool.
Well, that's excellent. So what about this race in particular, made you decide to throw your hat in the ring?
Well, for this race specifically, this is home. And I think 2018 was a wake-up call to all of us. I've spent the last 11 years of my career building a business. I started in the mail room when we had 36 employees and have helped build a business to almost 300 employees in one of the largest education technology companies in the country. And so doing that, I was hyper-focused on that. And then all of a sudden, 2018 happened. And it's like, whoa, is my home going to turn into a homogenized society? The place where I feel like we're the shining city on a hill, and all of a sudden, like, we're supposed to be like everyone else? Wait, team time out. Not on my watch.
Yeah, individuality is a trademark of being Texan, I feel like.
Absolutely. We think big, we dream big, we do big things. And so, I think that's just who we are as Texans. And so 2018 happened. I thought, this is really strange. I've known Pete Sessions for a long time, and he's the fifth most powerful man in Congress and got unseated by a gentleman that was unknown. That seemed really odd to me. And then furthermore, Collin Alred's radio silence in his first year of his campaign, of his congressional tenure, I was like, why would someone be radio silent? Like, you're supposed to be out in the community, out sharing what's going on, actually listening to us. And I feel completely unrepresented, especially as a business person.
So education technology, that's a great background to have, especially since that's becoming more and more part of the conversation here in the state and at the federal level. From your perspective, what can we do to address some of our education troubles right now?
Well, I think that first off, we have to remember that every child deserves an opportunity to be prepared for a thriving future. And in our company, what we do is we focus on grades pre-K to 8th grade with literacy and numeracy, where our goal is to ensure that every child has a very personalized learning path where their education is tailored to meeting them at their exact point in time. So what's your actual ability level? Because when you have 30 kids in a classroom, you've got a lot going on as a teacher to try to personalize instruction to meet every child where they're individually at all day. Really hard to do. So from an education side, I've worked all over the country. I was head of sales for our company, and I got to work with a really small territory everywhere east of the Mississippi River.
Yeah, there's a few people over there.
Yeah, well, build a team, small density. No, I'm kidding. So really what I saw was the effect of, what really good local decision making can do. And let's be honest, every parent, teacher, and administrator knows their kids far better than the federal government can and ever will. And so to me, it's always like, how do we push more decisions and funding back down to state and local control where they can make their own standards, they can increase the rigor, as well as the expectations for what they want for their students in the long term and how they're going to integrate into society.
So it sounds like you're really big about cutting those strings that come attached with federal dollars.
Oh, yeah. I worked with No Child Left Behind, Race to the Top funding. Race to the Top funding in the state of Tennessee was I worked with Memphis for like about 8 years, and it was a lot of strings, and it was just kind of Big Brother oversight, what's going on in this community. It's 140 elementary schools, much less what their middle schools and high schools. So, I just thought that we need to empower the people in the community that are actually doing the work, not trying to have all sorts of like Big Brother oversight.
Yeah, it seems like, and I'm sure there are a lot of voters who kind of feel like, wow, we're trying to actually attach strings to the tax dollars that we're sending to the government. Why are they sending these dollars back with nothing at all about what we're interested in, what our communities want to see that money used for? Why do you think, or what can be done to eliminate that? Do we need to just cut the practice altogether, get the bureaucracy out of the way these dollars are managed?
Well, I think all Republicans believe in limited government, and the less government we have, usually that ends up having more competition, better outcomes. And like my mom always says, the cream rises to the top,
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, when we think about getting funding back down to the local level. We're actually able to meet kids, meet parents, meet administrators from an education side where they're at and help them make those decisions at that point in time. And the federal government fundamentally can't do that. It's not agile.
Yeah.
At all.
There are times I worry about the state government being able to do that. So, so what are some of the other issues you're out there talking to voters about? What are the things that they're really keying in on right now?
Well, in District 32, there are two main issues: economy and immigration. Immigration is the number one issue in the state. You probably hear that from every single person that comes through.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been dealing with immigration since 1836. Like, this is not anything new to us. I'm glad that Congress has now realized, like, we have been dealing with this crisis for a long time. And it's important that we deal with immigration, but first we have to secure our borders. First, fundamentally, we keep not solving that problem and we keep moving on to other problems that we're trying to solve. And it's like, no, we have to secure the borders first, solve this one problem, and then begin to tackle all of these other issues dealing with immigration. That's my perspective. We can't just keep trying to put a Band-Aid on a broken leg. But in terms of the economy, I mean, hello, Texas is rolling. We are the economic engine, not just in Texas. I mean, my district, but also North Texas in general, is the economic engine of Texas as well as the U.S. And so in my district specifically, business is a huge function of what people are interested in and talking about. How are we supporting small business owners? How are we supporting sole proprietorships and encouraging people to become entrepreneurs and have better access to capital? But even furthermore, how are we allowing more companies to come to our great environment, our business environment, our Texas values, and using that to really be like I said, the shining city on a hill?
Now, I love your ad. Keeping it
thanks.
keeping it 100% Texan, right?
Let's go, baby.
My question, my question to you is, how do you go to DC and keep it 100% Texan?
Well, fundamentally, like, I'm a Texan first. Any Texan's going to tell you, are you from here? Are you from Texas?
Yes.
Okay, so do you consider yourself a Texan first and then American?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so I know we drink the Kool-Aid. So, what did our parents give us?
What Kool-Aid? The water, it comes straight from the ground, right?
Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's like the reality. And I think we have to remember, like, as Texans and as folks that were going to represent us in Congress, we are, as Texans, one of the most innovative, entrepreneurial, big thinkers. Like, that's just fundamentally what we're raised in, and we don't know differently, and somehow we lose sight of that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's just always keeping my eye on Texas because it is the greatest state in the nation.
So obviously you touched on the economic engine. Texas is kind of leading the way in terms of our regulation style, how we are addressing the border. I mean, you look at the rest of the states that share this huge expanse with Mexico, and we are on the front lines of it. How do you convince Congress members who aren't down here dealing with this problem to ignore the rhetoric that comes across in the media narrative and actually look at the issues that are impacting lives probably in their own districts and they don't even realize it, Yeah,
I think economics and the economy and immigration are tied together. I think they run in parallel. For folks that, might live in Wyoming, for example, they're not dealing with it, like you said, dealing with our same issues. But we have 7 million job vacancies in America. We want people to come here. We have the lowest unemployment rate we've ever had. We want people to come here. Christ, we need people to come here, but we want people to come here legally. We want people to go through the process and really appreciate the freedoms and liberties that are our God-given rights. And so helping folks in non-border states realize that fundamentally the economy and immigration are tied together, and we want to encourage those to, both be on an inclining slope. That's how I think we have to move this together. Because, like I said, I fundamentally believe that we need less government in business, but we need more business in government. And having people with a business background like myself, having people that know how to negotiate, know how to create an opportunity for your family, your neighbors to succeed, and why that matters, whether you're an American or a legal immigrant. That's what I think can move the needle.
So as you go out and you're knocking on doors, have there been any issues that have come up that maybe surprised you, that someone said, this is my priority issue, or just a quirky response, as you go talking to voters?
Well, Rob and I were knocking on doors before this. I always get immigration. That's the number one issue. But I'll tell you a quick story. Last week I was in Garland and I knocked on a door and a guy came out in his robe and brushing his teeth.
Yep. Been there.
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep eye level. He was still brushing his teeth while we were talking. And he was like, oh, I would have dressed up if I had known, I was like, you know what? It's great. Thank you. I would love to have your vote on March 3rd. I'm a Republican running against Collin Alred. And he was like, oh yeah, totally. And still in his robe, still brushing his teeth. It was great. It was just like, this is real life.
You get a real slice of life when you're a block walker. That's for sure.
Totally.
If you want to know what your neighbors are like, just go one Saturday morning to knock on their door for a candidate. You'll learn real quick about what's happening out there.
Yeah. I've been surprised how willing people are to actually answer their door. I was nervous about the Ring doorbell and, what that technology would do to discourage people from answering their doors.
Yeah.
However, that's not really been the case in all of my blocking. I've probably done 500 doors at this point personally. Mm-hmm. We have people going out all the time and helping, volunteering to do that, which has been amazing. Mm-hmm. People want to volunteer their time to help me. This is amazing. And so that's been, it's always immigration, but I've had one person say socialism, and the other thing I get a lot is like, oh my gosh, we are so excited for you to be the anti-AOC.
I think there's a few people vying for that at this point.
I think so. One of the things when I win the primary, I'm going to do is I'm going to invite her to come debate me.
Oh,
yes. So, I will verbally eviscerate her.
Okay.
But, but it's an opportunity to see, capitalism, opportunity, economic freedom versus socialism.
Yeah.
And, the perspectives that those offer and really the opportunities in which both of those offer. Mm-hmm. I'm sure she won't say yes, but
I don't like identity politics, but it's hard to escape the fact that you are a Republican candidate who happens to also be a woman.
Oh, thank you.
I don't get into that, the mom question or any of that stuff. I don't care about that because I know if you're sitting here, you clearly want to go and do the work, right? My question to you is, as you go out and you set this example, you're talking to voters, what is your message to other women that the Republican Party isn't what, mainstream media narratives want to make it out to be? How do you have that conversation with other women, with other young people about why the Republican Party, besides sanity, has real solutions to our problems?
Well, I think being practical and being able to relate my experience as a businesswoman, but also a woman that's been in education. There's a lot of suburban women in my district that haven't been reached out to or that felt that they've been abandoned. My really unique and competitive advantage is that I have actually worked in every single school district that makes up this congressional district.
Wow.
So I understand the nuance between each of these communities. And even furthermore, I've actually made an impact for a decade in these communities. I don't just have the goal to talk about the hope I want to create, or the impact I want to create. I can actually talk to real meaningful outcomes. And I think that for women, that's been kind of a breath of fresh air, is that there's a sense of authenticity, transparency, and trustworthiness. But then also, I think women just want to be heard. And women are excited to see that there's a fresh, new, dynamic face to what the Republican Party typically presents. Mm-hmm. And I've been really welcomed. I was expecting women to be much more difficult in terms of earning their support, but they have really welcomed me with open arms because they see that I'm a serious candidate. I actually know the issues, but I'm from the district and have spent a career working in the district, both in business, but also as, in charities. I've really been woven into the fabric of the community. And I think that women are ready to see more women lead. Like the Dems, why do they get to say that they're the only party that has women? That's not true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, only 5% of the Republican Party in Congress are women. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's laughable and embarrassing. And I think that it's time that we have some sort of, like a defibrillator moment for our party.
Yeah.
And I think people want to see a new face. They want to see someone that's young, that's hungry, that will work, and that's strong.
Well, and we've certainly seen that now with all the impeachment stuff, that being a freshman doesn't exclude you from these major watershed moments in our democracy. So for you, what is a personal issue that you are taking? Is it outside of the immigration, education, economy conversation? What is an issue that personally drives you?
I mean, our national debt and deficit really bothers me. That is my number one priority in Congress. Part of our Republican value system is to be fiscally responsible. If I ran my business the same way the government runs its own, I would have been out of business a long time ago. I would have had no investors, right? We kind of forget that if the government is a business and the taxpayers, we're all shareholders. We are not getting the ROI on our shares, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion. So for me, reducing the national debt and our deficit is huge, because if we're not financially solvent as a nation, we're not going to be able to in future generations, because we as young Republicans are going to inherit this mess. And if our parents didn't have the financial discipline to actually redline things and apply data to say, hey, what's actually making the American public better? Let's fund that. And then let's actually audit what's not, and let's not do that. We have to be strong and have a backbone and say, yo, where's my red pen? Let's start marking some of this stuff out so we can reduce waste and abuse. Because if we don't, the next generation is going to be in really bad shape.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the very few people that in, middle school, looked at the national deficit, did some loose math and was like, okay, so am I going to be accountable for this? I think at the time it was like 20,000 per American resident. And I was like, so do I start just paying down this now? Like, how do we get rid of it? Like,
you're so forward thinking. I love it.
But that's, climate change has its place and we talk about the future, but honestly, the national debt is something that can cripple this country. If once a year, every few months, Congress is having a discussion about raising the debt ceiling as opposed to rolling their sleeves up and, cutting some of the waste.
Right.
What is happening in our government that it can shut down every few months if Congress doesn't act, right?
That's completely unacceptable. The government can never shut down. The government is built and designed to serve the people, and yet we can't fund the government. We have so many jobs and bureaucratic positions that are duplicative, and that we can actually probably reduce the number of those jobs. Not that I want people to be displaced from their jobs, but if there's duplication, why?
And with 7 million available jobs out there, it's not like that we're sending them to a breadline.
Right.
We're sending them out into the private sector where there is ample opportunity. So as you go forward, you've got month and a half left before the primary.
Full on sprint mode. I'm like Usain Bolt right now. Like, give me those gold shoes. I'm running, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You're not going to stop until you're well past the finish line.
Yeah. In November.
Yes. Well, you get through the primary, and then you've got the real task ahead of you, which I want to kind of get into here.
Sure.
Right? You are running in one of the seats that is going to be highly visible. People are clearly talking about it just from the perspective, this is a seat that Republicans lost last cycle. What do you think it is that can turn this back to being a Republican district? What is it about this district that makes you think, this is just a one-time deal? People will realize they did not get what they thought they were originally buying.
Yeah, I think that Governor Abbott won this district by 6 points. At the same time, Pete Sessions lost it by 5.5. Mm-hmm. Very odd, very big spread in a very short amount of time. So there's a there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a nuance of this district in my analysis that, and this is really kind of nerdy, but everyone that ran, as a message of pro Texas first and then ideologue second, won 5 people had that same sort of messaging, and those that ran as an ideologue first and then a Texan second lost. I mean, that's an oversimplification, but I think that the fact that Beto is not a factor here. I think he caught magic, absolutely caught lightning in a bottle. Clearly, he wasn't able to replicate that in 2019.
Yeah.
But that's also, we finally found out more about him. That's kind of similar to Collin Alred. No one really knows very much about him or what he stands for. And so I think that he and Beto were able to ride that wave to victory for Collin in a way that I'm not going to let Collin be able to do this time around. But also really looking at, where did Governor Abbott succeed? Why did he succeed there? You know, there were 40,000 model Trump voters that simply stayed home in this district. So Pete lost by less than 16,000 votes. If everyone had come out to vote, which we are in a presidential year, everyone that is fired up, which is most people in the country, is going to come out to vote. So we should be seeing a much better representation of the Republican voice. And I'd say 2 last things. Straight ticket voting going away hugely helps this district. And I've identified where that physically helps precinct by precinct. In addition, and to your point about playing identity politics, don't want to do it. However, I am the only female candidate in my primary, in my race, and I'm the only person that's actually spent time in the district and will be able to reach into the suburban communities and reactivate those voters and bring women back to the table. Women want to have a voice. They just need someone to be able to, make it louder for them. I'm that person.
So everything goes great. You win the primary, smash Collin in November. What is the first thing that you want to do as a congressperson?
Like I said, as a freshman, I know this will be highly unpopular, but attack the national debt. Texas is financially solvent, at least with what we think of as our rainy day fund. But also our GDP is growing. We're the 10th largest economy in the world. Like, we need to apply some business in Texas, financial practice to the federal budget and the federal deficit. So that would be really what I would work on first.
Excellent. Well, as we wrap up, here's your chance to talk to the voters directly. My parents are in this district, so.
Ooh, where do what part?
They live in very, very South Carrollton, like right on the border.
Oh, nice. Right? Prestonwood area?
No, even further south.
Okay.
That right by the W tollway. So they're right at Marsh and W tollway. So they're just barely.
I mean, by an eyelash. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, here's your chance. There's, you don't have any other candidates in here trying to, get their sound bites in. What is your message to voters in this district?
So my name is Genevieve Collins. I am running for Congressional District 32. I'm a 7th generation Texan, Division I and NCAA championship athlete, as well as local businesswoman. I've spent my career building a small business from 36 employees to 300. And I fundamentally believe, just like our Texas economy, we need less government in business and more business in government. My platform is education, economy, and national security. Within national security, I'm baking in cybersecurity because I think we are woefully behind in how we're protecting our electric grid, our water systems, our roads, and even your online bank accounts. So we have got to prioritize investment there. But I am from here. I'm woven into the fabric of this community, and I understand why people are moving here. We have a great business environment. We have great Texas values of God, family, business, independence, but we also have great schools and great neighborhoods. Those are the things that I will protect, but also enhance when I get to Congress.
Excellent. Well, this is going to come out on Monday. So do you have any events or anything coming up, and how do voters reach out to you? How do they reach the campaign and find out more about your race?
So you can reach out to my campaign at info@gcforcongress.com. And it's FOR. I don't do the number for it. info@gcforcongress.com. My social media is Genevieve Collins for Congress. That's on Facebook. We have a ton of people tracking us on Facebook. It's awesome. And then Instagram, Genevieve for Congress, Twitter, at Genevieve for Congress. And I mean, I literally am everywhere all the time. Someone can track me down pretty easily. I feel like I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You know, today's Saturday and I have 7 events. So feel free to email me. I mean, ideally, my thought about this whole process, this is a relationship. And that's what we have to bring back to this whole congressional process, is that Congress people are supposed to listen and then serve. That's true leadership, and that's how I will lead.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I'll let you get off to your events, and we wish you the best of luck. You know, we'll bring you back in when you're ready to take on Collin in November. Okay.
Hey, I hope he's ready. I'm the Category 5 hurricane he ain't ready for.
Oh, there we go. I look forward to it. Thanks. All right. Thank you again to Genevieve for joining us. Like she said, if you want to learn more about her, you can find her on Facebook, Genevieve Collins for Congress. You can also visit her website, gcforcongress.com. You can also email her at info@gcforcongress.com. Thank you to all my guests who've come on, who made it out today. I'll be interviewing more tomorrow, but we'll get to that down the road. And thank you to you, the listeners, who have been engaging, who have been subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We have plenty more to go before the March 3rd primary, so make sure you are staying involved, staying engaged. As always, follow the Texas Young Republicans on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TexasYRs. You can find us, the Big Texas Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter at Big Texas Podcast. If you're a candidate and you want to come on the show, we've got phone interviews lined up as well for our folks who are in the farther reaches of this great state. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. I want to give a shout out to Stephen Ming, who has been connecting me with candidates and making sure that we are trying to talk to as many folks as possible before voters head to the polls on March 3rd. Thank you again, as always, friends. Until next time, we'll see you down the road.